How we doing? I think one of the most important things that players need to do when they're practicing, even like today, we've had a couple really nice days. Today is a little warmer, whatever, is your ability to maintain your focus even when you're practicing because it affects your preparation. And your ability to focus helps your preparation so that when you get to the game and it's challenging to maintain your focus, you can do it because you practice doing it all week, even if it's a little bit of an adverse circumstance. It's important to have discipline to be able to stay focused on what you do. And a lot of people think that you get discipline on the field. I don't think you get discipline on the field. I think discipline starts when you get up in the morning. Can you do what you're supposed to do? You go do what you're supposed to do. You go to class, you do what you're supposed to do. You treat people right, you do all that. If you're supposed to be someplace, you don't do what you feel like doing. You do what you choose to do what you're supposed to do. So that carries over on the field. No different than do you develop strength on the field? No, you develop strength in the weight room, and then you take it to the field. All right, so that's been sort of a point of emphasis for us this week because we're going to play, a very good Texas A&M team. They probably improved and gotten better every week, and I think that this is, the best team that we've played, to this point. Jimbo's done a really good job. They're really well coached, and they're good in all phases of the game. So it's going to be a real challenge for us to go play 60 minutes in what usually is a very, very difficult environment, and to be able to maintain and stay focused in what we're doing and how we need to execute. Injury updates, Chris Owens is probably very questionable for this week. He hasn't been able to do anything in practice. Probably will get him back maybe next week, but we still haven't made that decision completely yet.
How does the offense use motion in the run game, and how is Sark using that as a way to create different opportunities in the run game?
Well, I think there's several different ways that you use motion. Sometimes you use motion to create an advantage in terms of overloading the formation so you can actually block better. Sometimes you use motion as, I'm going to call it, eye candy, all right, for the defense because the guys comes rocketing through there and they're thinking, do I have to adjust with this guy, slide adjust, or are they slingshotting the safeties? I can just stay where I'm at. And then you just run a regular basic play that you run all the time without motion, but yet they might get confused as to what their fit is. So sometimes you use motion to put guys in better position to get open, whether you create stacks or bunches or whatever. Sometimes, you start motion one way and turn around and come back the other, depending on how they're adjusting to formations to try to get people open. And you can always motion to create new formations, which create different adjustments for the defense. So there's a multitude of ways that you use motion. I think we use about all of them, which I think is a good thing. And hopefully we'll be able to continue to do things that will create some confusion on defense.
Is there anything new on Will Riker's status, and how much, if anything, has he been able to do this week?
He kicked today, so we'll evaluate him day to day and see where he goes from there.
Turnovers have always been something you mentioned as a critical factor. What do you remember in the last couple games with A&M and how those turnovers shaped the games?
You know what? I watched the film of the games that we played against them, but I can't even tell you what the turnover ratio was in last year's game. I know it'll be important in every game that we play, just like it'll be important in this game that we take care of the ball and that we can sort of create some turnovers some kind of way and come out with an advantage when it comes to turnover ratio. We do a chart every week that goes +3, +2, +1, even, -1, -2, -3. All right, and it shows everybody in our conference what their turnover ratio was and what their record is. The people that are +3 and +2 are undefeated. +1 is like, I don't know, 3-1 wins. Even is kind of 50-50. And the people in the minus category, they all got losing records. So it's important in every game. But to be honest, I can't remember what the turnover ratio was in, the last games that we played with these guys.
Back to Cecil.
Coach, I'm sure the open week's important for all the players, but when you have inexperienced linebackers, the amount of freshmen and sophomores who are playing at those positions, those linebacker positions, what do you do over the open week? How much is teaching? How much is putting them out there and repping? What do you do with those guys?
Well, we do as much as we can to try to, expose them to things that they have not seen before that they will see in the next 3 games. We spent a little more time on this particular game. We spent a lot of time, probably an inadvertent, relatively speaking, amount of time to doing walkthroughs, 11-on-11 walkthroughs, so that you're getting a multitude of reps with these guys to see things without wearing them out and running them all over the place. So we've done extra meetings to try to increase their knowledge and ability to go out and feel confident in terms of what they're supposed to do. But there's nothing that you can do to teach experience. The only way you get that is to go do it. And the more experience these guys get, I think the better they'll play, the less errors they'll make. And because you get exposed to more and more things, then you're more comfortable to adjusting to all those things. So it's, you heard what I said before. I said it this morning, AP classes, advanced placement. That's what we're teaching. It's a challenge to make an A. Those are hard classes, hard to make an A, but that's what we're trying to do, and these guys are working their tail off to try to do it.
Right here with Chris.
The 4 primary receivers that you have, are there any similarities with the depth that you developed at LSU, or just are the situations just way too different?
I don't really understand the question. We had some good receivers. I remember one year we had 4 really good receivers at LSU. We got 4 really good receivers here. They're all different. I don't think I can compare one group to the other or one individual to another. They're all different, but they were all very good players, and they're all hard workers, and were very productive. So, in this group we have now is extremely talented. They work hard. They're not selfish. They all have shown an ability to make explosive plays, which I think is going to be important to the success of our team.
Come up front here with Kirk.
Thank you. Coach, we all know about home field advantage, and I know the things that you do, like include pumping in noise to get ready for that. Are there other things that you do to prepare a team for a road game that are to make it more like a home game or anything like that? And also, I wanted to know what they gave you to eat in the duck commercial, or was that just good acting?
No, it was a cookie. Since I was recruiting, I never complain about what I eat when I'm recruiting. So, always gracious. So I was gracious to have a cookie. I think playing on the road is a mindset from a competitive standpoint. You got to have the mental toughness and discipline to stay focused on what you're doing and not get infected by, what's happening around you. Some players, and I think experience has something to do with this, have a lot better chance to do that. Noise is something that we work on, which is probably the thing that can impact the game the most. But what I always tell players is the field's going to be 53 yards wide and 100 yards deep. So what's different about that? And, you got to be able to go focus and do what you're supposed to do and keep your poise regardless of what happens. And you got to be able to overcome adversity, play the next play so you don't create these momentum situations that can have an impact on the outcome of a game.
Hi, Coach. Do you have a specific memory or a story from when you were at LSU and Jimbo was on your staff? Just something that stands out to you about his personality or coaching style or a story?
No, he was always on my noontime basketball league. He could shoot threes. He was a really good competitor, and we had a hell of a record. Hell of a record. He did a really good job of coaching. Um, I used to tell him, I said, you coach the quarterbacks like we coach the nose guard. You're really, really tough on them. But they responded well to him, and they respected him, and he did a great job of developing, the quarterbacks as well. So, but my best memory is us, winning at noontime. And, he could talk a little stuff too, to the other team, which he didn't learn from me, incidentally.